The Sony FDR-X3000v, albeit released over 2 years ago now, was one of the first action cameras on the market to introduce a digital image stabilisation system, and what a fantastic camera it was. Now with their new flagship action camera, Sony are ahead of the competition yet again with a game changer, the optically stabilised FDR-X3000. Sony has pulled out all the stops once again and created an action camera that puts it firmly ahead of the competition, on paper at least, not only with its 4K recording at 30 frames per second, and that's at 100 megabits per second, which is already ahead of the GoPro Hero 5 Black, but they've managed to miniaturize their balanced optical steady shot system, which they call BOSS, into a small action camera, producing this, their most powerful action camera to date, the FDR-X3000. Available in two packages, this 3000R package comes complete with a live view remote control unit, whereas the remainder of the package is the same, containing the FDR-X3000 action camera wrapped in a waterproof dive housing, a single 1240mAh battery, micro USB charge and sync cable, a single buckle mount, even though there's nothing else to connect it to, a charging dock for the included remote, and a remote wrist strap and charging base. To be fair, for the amount you pay, I did expect more. Nevertheless, the overall design remains consistent with Sony's previous action cameras. Rather than creating another rectangular camera like the GoPro, Sony's cameras have always resembled little camcorders, perfect for helmet mounting with their slim bodies. The X3000 is slightly bulkier, especially when it's in this waterproof case, albeit with a flat lens cover for optimal video capture while diving, along with a metal 1/4" 20 mounting thread at the bottom. Otherwise it opens in pretty much the same way as previous generations, and the camera within slides out, now in a much more manageable and streamlined form factor. Even in this naked state, the unit itself is splash proof, so unless you're diving underwater or rolling in mud, chances are you won't need the bulky waterproof case too much. Like the X1000V before it, the X3000 comes in this glossy white finish. Weighing in at 114 grams for the body and battery, it's actually the same weight as the X1000V2, which is impressive considering the extra optical image stabilisation technology that's packed inside. There are some differences in dimensions and button placements, but overall the design is the same, and personally I think it's perfect for helmet mounting. We still have that small LCD screen for settings on the side, still no live view mind, along with some menu navigation and control buttons, standard power, record and lock buttons across the top, and a battery cover on the opposite side allowing the 1240mAh battery to slide right in, which Sony states should provide around 2 hours 50 minutes recording at 1080p or 60 minutes at 4K. The bottom still has that metal threaded tripod mount, perfect for adding non-official mounts and accessories. Nevertheless, ports and connections have moved from the bottom, where they were more difficult to get to while mounted, to the rear, where we find a 3.5mm audio port for connection to external audio devices, a micro HDMI port for external displays, and a micro USB port for charging and transferring footage. For storage, we have the option of Sony's M2 memory sticks, which you'll want for optimal 100 megabits per second recording, or the much cheaper micro SD card. The star of the show is on the front. Alongside a pair of stereo microphones, we have the Zeiss Tessa multi-coated lens with its built-in optical steady shot technology, making it the first on the market with such advanced recording, meaning fully stabilized video capture even at 4K resolution. Something the GoPro Hero 5 can't even begin to compete with. More on that later. With a quick tap of the appropriate button, the camera powers up and is ready to use, with the shutter button starting and stopping capture, and 3 LEDs around the unit indicating when the unit is recording. Otherwise, all aspects of the camera are controlled through a newly designed menu system on the side-mounted LCD panel. And it's not as simple as GoPro's menu system, but with some practice users will get to know where their most used options are. Here we can quickly switch between shooting modes, change camera resolutions and frame rates, and access all other general camera settings. It's all rather simple and self-explanatory. As said, it's not as easy to pick up and switch settings like you can with a GoPro, and you'll find you need to spend some extra time reaching and changing the desired options, but over time you'll master the controls and glide through them with ease. Those who stretch the X3000R package receive a handy live view remote, which is 24% lighter and 30% smaller than previous models. With the usual array of menu, power and shutter buttons, the menu system itself replicates that on the camera, while the live view works pretty well and is relatively lag-free. There were no dropped connections, so it's reliable throughout use too. Although it comes with a wrist strap, it's a rather chunky device. Thankfully, it can be removed from the strap and attached to other accessories, including a shooting grip that bloggers may find useful. Another downside is that it uses its own dock to charge the internal battery, so another item you'll need to lug around alongside your camera gear. Saying that, for those without the remote, the X3000 is compatible with Sony's Play Memories mobile app, available on both iOS and Android platforms, which is a decent alternative to the remote. Here we can access all camera settings, as well as receiving a relatively lag-free live feed from what the camera sees. We can even transfer images and video, albeit in MP4 format and not Sony's XAVC S, all pretty standard stuff. The Sony X3000 is currently the most powerful camera available, and boy does it show. Yes, the GoPro Hero 5 Black records at 4K 32, but the Sony increases the bitrate to over 100 over GoPro's 60 megabits per second when using Sony's XAVC format and with a high-speed card that can handle it, of course. This means the Sony can save more data faster, especially useful when shooting in 4K, creating a sharper overall image with more detail throughout. The camera is equipped with a Zeiss Tessa multi-coated lens paired with a 2.5-inch 16:9 XMOS R CMOS sensor with an 8.2 megapixel resolution. Sony has made improvements to its performance when it comes to barrel distortion too, meaning you get far less of that fisheye effect and a more natural looking shot. All that boils down to some amazingly high video quality footage. Seriously, it's crazy good. Colours are vivid and natural, while the image is super clear and sharp. If that wasn't enough on its own, in truth it's the Boss Optical Image Stabilisation system that's the star of the show. Sony has managed to miniaturize its steady shot system into the small frame of the X3000, and on the whole it works really well. There's the occasional rolling shutter effect, especially on horizontal panning, but otherwise the image stabilization is seriously impressive. The Boss technology can be thought of as a completely floating lens unit that moves to counteract unwanted camera shake, resulting in far steadier footage and a superior alternative to digital image stabilization offered by competitors such as the Hero 5 Black. Since the stabilization is completely mechanical rather than done in software, it results in absolutely no loss in video quality and even works when shooting in 4K, a first for action cameras. In a miniature camera of this size, it still works surprisingly well. The other surprise is just how well the stereo microphones perform. The lack of distortion is impressive, although note that this was tested without the waterproof housing, which muffles the sound on any camera. The X3000 also has the potential to capture good still images when there's plenty of good light. Photos are well exposed with decent sharpness, although it does begin to struggle with low light, with slow shutter speeds being the main culprit if you have any subjects that move at all. No amount of image stabilization can help here. Low light capture is noticeably noisier, although that's an issue that plagues all action cameras, so it's not really a surprise here either. Battery life was on par with the manufacturer quoted 60 minutes at 4K and just over 2 hours at 1080p. That's in line with most other power action cameras on the market. The battery is at least user replaceable though, so you can carry plenty of spares if need be. The Sony FDR-X3000 is one of the priciest action cameras on the market, but with its immensely stable footage and fantastic image quality, it could be well justified. Optical image stabilization miniaturized to an action camera of this size really is an impressive feat of engineering. It makes getting stable footage incredibly easy and is far superior to a software-based solution. Even if we put image stabilization to one side, video quality in itself is fantastic too. My only complaints are around the live view remote. It's a nice addition, but it's a little bulky and I would have preferred a micro USB port for charging, like the camera itself, rather than having to carry a separate charging dock. Nevertheless, this is one of the most expensive action cameras currently available, and if you have deep pockets, there's plenty to love about the FDR-X3000. The GoPro Hero 5 Black may be a better choice for adrenaline junkies who want to capture every bump along the way, thanks to its easy to use menu system, built-in waterproofing, and the fact it mounts better against your chest. But for helmet mounting, or for those who are after raw video quality, even though I wish the menu system was slightly easier to use, I'd go so far as to say the Sony FDR-X3000 is the best action camera currently on the market. It really is that good.